Welcome my dear students of 8A and 8B to my history class. Today in my revision class, I would like to explain the topic, the Industrial Revolution and Imperialism. Here are the points mentioned, please look at it. Point number 1, introduction to favorable conditions that led to Industrial Revolution in Britain, causes of the revolution, introduction of factory systems, spread of a revolution. Now first point, introduction. What is it? What is Industrial Revolution? Is it any revolution? Of course not. But repercussion, but sensation among a nation came and encouraged them to introduce a new system from where instead of manual power, machine power would work. But how was it possible? It was not a work of one day's effort. It took time. How? Because of the concept of Renaissance. Renaissance, a new era, encouraged the people to receive education. People who did not have any education, they received education during Renaissance age, and they gained knowledge, sufficient knowledge, and with this there came a remarkable development in the field of science and technology. And that effect came first in England. As a result, England was the country of the world to have witnessed the Industrial Revolution. So this is about introduction. The next point, my dear students, favorable conditions that led to the Industrial Revolution in Britain. Now question is, the Industrial Revolution first took place in Britain. How and what? Because there were certain factors which led to the growth and development of Industrial Revolution first in England. What are the factors? Number 1, geographical atmosphere. Number 2, cheap laborers, availability of cheap laborers. Number 3, stable political condition. Number 4, stable economy. Number 5, rapid progress in the field of education, culture, and growth and development in science and technology. So these were the important factors which helped England to witness such a historical event, Industrial Revolution first in their own country, England. Now, what were the most important factors which encouraged England to mobilize the concept of Industrial Revolution? Number 1, a number of scientists who were born in different parts of Europe. England encouraged them to come and settle in England, so that they must invent, they must discover new machines for establishing factory system in England. As a result, a number of scientists from different parts of Europe, they migrated from there and settled in England in order to earn better money, in order to lead better life. As a result of it, a number of scientists from different parts of Europe, like Italy, like Germany, like Australia, like Austria, like Russia, like America, they all, in course of time, they left their countries and in search of better occupation, better job. And as a result, these scientists, discovered a number of machines, and with that machine, the concept of factory system was established in England. A number of factories and industries also were established because of rapid development in the field of machine discovery of machines. So the work which was done by the people in their respective houses, now a number of machines, after the invention of a number of machines, machines started working instead of people. As a result, there came a rapid progress in the field of production, and productive rate also were increased, and productive rate increased, and at the same time uh, England was able to establish large market throughout Asia, Europe, and Africa, and that helped England. Next point, causes of the revolution. Industrial revolution was not a revolution of the people. It is not a revolution, means it doesn't mean that people fought against oppressive rule and started revolution. Not like that. Revolution obviously, but that revolution came in the field of industry and industrial development and industrial growth. That's why it is known as industrial revolution. There were certain causes behind it. Now, what were the causes? Availability of natural resources in England helped her to witness such a revolution in her own country, England. Number two, availability of water, availability of waterways, and availability of, as I mentioned earlier, cheap laborers, availability of scientists, availability of a number of quality machines, availability of uh, factories and industries more and more throughout the whole country. Moreover, the moneylenders, rich people, they invested a lot of money for establishing more and more factories and industries in England. Naturally, it helped England to be self-sufficient, and it helped England to occupy the large trading markets of Asia, Europe, and Africa. So it also encouraged England to establish colonies in different parts of Asia, Europe, and Africa. That means in Far East. England decided to extend their trade throughout Far East, and as a result, England required, you know, uh, England required all quantities of natural resources in order to meet the growing demand of our own factories and industries in England. That's why that idea of establishing colonies, that means the idea and the principles of colonization first encouraged England. As a result, England established a number of colonies throughout Asia, Europe, and Africa in order to meet the growing demand of their factories and industries for natural resources. The natural resources of these countries helped England to meet their growing demand of their factories and industries. And not only that, England also utilized, cheap laborers of their colonies, where they had established from there a number of, cheap laborers they collected and utilized it in their own industries, in their own factories. And besides, there came a remarkable progress in the field of, communication. England set up railway tracks, not only in their own country but in her colonies, in the interest of herself, so that finished products must be supplied to different places, different markets within a very short time. That's why, in the interest of herself, England established, railway network systems in her colonies. And another important factor is that is, you know, the England's policy of England's industrial policy uh, helped her to be benefited more and more than other countries of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Why? Because the wave of industrial growth and industrial, development, you know, destroyed the local markets of different, countries of Asia, Europe, and Africa. That means indigenous industry was totally ruined. Indigenous industry where local craftsmen, local artisans worked in their respective houses, that manual labor encouraged them to earn money, and they were able to meet their minimum requirement for their livelihood. But suddenly, finished products occupied the large market of India, and hence the small scale industries, they and their artisans and their craftsmen, they lost their jobs, and the small scale industry, means handicraft industry was totally ruined. And why was it? Only because of the British industrial policy and the British finished products, which occupied the large market of India. Its qualities were not only superior, but its prices were very less than that of the indigenous products, because indigenous products were produced from produced through handicraft industry, and the process was manual process. That's why it was time consuming. Production and productive rate also had become a great factor, but it was not a factor for the machine made goods, because machines produce large quantities of productive goods within a very short time, and its quality also are very superior, and the prices also are very less. That's why machine made goods flooded the large market of India, large market of Asia, large market of Europe. And as a result, England was able to be more and more self-sufficient, more and more rich, more and more wealthy. And all these developments and the agricultural revolution also had become possible in the early 17th century only because of the industrial revolution. A number of agricultural implements also were discovered by the scientists, which helped the peasants and farmers to utilize it in their agricultural land. So instead of manual labor, instead of animal power, they utilize this type of machines in their agricultural lands, which help them to cultivate crops bulk in quantities, and it also reduced the time limit, because earlier it took time, but now after the introduction of new agricultural implements in their agricultural lands, it helped peasants and farmers to cultivate more and more crops, and more good quality and quality seeds also were available during industrial age, which also helped them to produce quality crops also from their lands. So Britain, by the end of the 17th century, was a thriving and stable economy throughout the whole world, and it also emerged. as a strong power, strong naval power too, and many colonies were established under their care in the interest of herself. As a result, England was able to bring raw materials from their colonies like sugar, like cotton, like spices and tea to their own country, England. So this is a reason the concept of capitalism also was formed. Number of money lender, money lenders, a number of money makers, a number of rich people. They came forward in order to invest their money for better income, and powerful financial houses like banks also were there in order to control the entire monetary system of England and other countries of the whole world. As a result, the money investors, they made huge amount of investment in their respective fields in order to earn better money, in order to make it double, in order to make their capital double. Besides, England, the natural resources like coal, natural resources like iron also help England to utilize it properly, because these were available in her own country, and other energy sources also were there, like steel, electricity, like petroleum, and other things also help them to use it and to be benefited. Invention of different things like power loom, like spinning jenny, it also helped England and resulted in an increase in production, increase in textile productions. The hand powered, spinning jenny was patented by James Hargreaves in the year 1770, and then the development of the spinning wheel into the spinning jenny was a significant factor in England, significant factor, and as a result of it, the textile industry also were developed. Textile industry also was developed, and other inventions also led England to be more and more self-sufficient. And next day, and another one point more left, that is introduction of factory system, spread of revolution. Introduction of factory system, the new machines which were invented by a number of scientists of England. It also encouraged the investors to invest much amount of money for their better income, and people working at home could not compete with the factory made goods, as I mentioned earlier. That's why the idea of factory system encourage England and discourage local traders, discourage artisans, discourage artisans and craftsmen, because they all became jobless. That factory system became the center of the economic life of people, because many of them whose income were very less, whose income was less, they all came forward by leaving their villages and settled in the towns, and became factory laborers, and some of them factory apprentice, and then the people's life suddenly changed. They were able to live a modern lifestyle, and they all had to move from villages to cities in search of better income, in search of jobs. So these helped England to be more and more rich and prosperous, and ultimately these technological changes also made possible a tremendous increase in the use of natural resources and the mass production of manufactured goods. Up to this, my dear students. Next day, few points are left. I shall re-explain it. The revision of this lesson number 2 will be completed.